That was her claim. And she was sentenced to death for 6 of the murders and was executed by lethal injection on October 9th, 2002. Also, she was born February 29th, which had to be on a leap year, 1956, in Rochester, Michigan, not New York, Rochester, Michigan. And I just thought it was odd that she was born on February 29th. She murdered her victims by shooting them at point blank range. That means she walked right up to them and put the gun against their head and pulled the trigger. That's what point blank means. It means there's no space between the gun and the person. Okay. Let's see, she died in Florida State Prison by lethal injection, 6 counts of first-degree murder, 6 death sentences. Her weapon was a high-staked .22 caliber revolver. She was apprehended on January 9th, 1991. Okay, she was born Aileen Carol Pittman in Rochester, Michigan. We covered that. Her Finnish American mother, Aileen Wournos, was 14 years old when she married Eileen's English American father, 16-year-old Leodale Pittman, on June 3rd, 1954. Eileen's older brother Keith was born on March 14th, 1955. After less than 2 years of marriage, first was Richard Charles Mallory, age 51, November 30th, 1989, electronics store owner in Clearwater. Her first victim was a convicted rapist who she claimed to have killed in self-defense. She claimed that she was sodomized and brutally beaten after being driven to an abandoned area for sexual requests. 2 days later, a Volusia County deputy sheriff found Mallory's abandoned vehicle. On December 13th, his body was found several miles away in a wooded area. He had been shot several times. 2 bullets to the left lung were found to have been the cause of death. Her second victim, David Andrew Spears, age 47, construction worker in Winter Garden. He was declared missing as of May 19th, 1990. On June 1st, 1990, his naked body was found along U.S. Route 19 in Florida. In Citrus County, he had been shot 6 times by a .22 caliber pistol. Charles Edmund Garskaden, I think I'm saying that right, age 40, May 31st, 1990, a part-time rodeo worker. On June 6, 1990, his body was found in Pasco County. He had been shot 9 times with a .20 caliber weapon. The body had been wrapped in an electric blanket and the body was badly decomposed when found. Witnesses